Okay, hi everybody. Today we're going to work on section 6.2 in our textbook, which is computing mentally with percents. So you should be able to look at a problem and use your brain to do the problem without having to write down anything. But you are going to have to write down what you were thinking in your brain so I know what you're doing. And we're going to be estimating with percents. So, why do we need to do this in our head? You guys have calculators. You have the easy tip calculator on your cell phone. So you need to be able to look at it, know the answer like that. So that's how I'm going to teach you how to do it. First, part one, you're going to mentally find percents. For example, here we're shopping at Bloomingdale's, and you see an item that you like that is $50, and the tag says 60% off. How much do you take off? Now I already have the answer like that, and I'm going to teach you how to do that problem. I will tell you that we take off $30. Okay? And the way that I do that is I take 10% of this. Now 10% means you actually just move it over one. So that would be $5 if it was 10% off. But I have 60% off, so I have 6 times that. 6 times 5 is $30. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in this lesson. And we will practice more in class. Percent fraction equivalents. These need to be memorized. You need to know what each percent the fraction is equal to. 25%, 50%, and 75%, these are your quarters. So, 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. 20%, 40%, 60%, and 80%, these are the fifths. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 4/5. The next are your tenths, okay, because these could be reduced to fifths. 1/10, 3/10, 7/10, and 9/10. And then 33 1/3% and 66 2/3% are the repeating percents that I need you to memorize. And they are 1/3 and 2/3. So pause me if you need to. Write down all of those. These need to be memorized. So let's do some examples. Remember, key to success. All mental math questions still require exact answers. We are not estimating these at all. We're just being able to do them in our head without having to pull out a calculator immediately. 25% of 88. 25%, you just wrote down, is 1/4. 1/4 of means times 88. So when you're doing this, 1/4 of 88. And what you need to know with fractions, basically, you're doing 1/4 times 88. You just should think 88 divided by 4, because there's a 1 in the numerator, and there's a 4 in the denominator. So you divide, you get 22. There's your answer, done. So all I had to think was divide by 4, 22. For the next one, 70% of 110. You have to think what 70% is as the fraction, which is 7/10. Of means times 110. Now, when I do this problem in my head, I think 110 divided by 10 first, because that's how you cancel them out with fractions. You get 11. 11 times 7. Oh, the answer is wrong here. It should be 77. Get rid of that. Times 110 equals, these would cancel out the 10 and the 0, and you get 77. Okay, I'm going to leave you with one to try on your own. 30% of 70. Remember, even though you're doing these using your brain, you still need to write down what you're doing, because I cannot read your mind. I don't have those powers yet, sorry. Alright, maybe in my next life I'll get that superpower. Section 6.2, still in the same section, still in part 1, mentally finding percents, continued. Now I'm going to teach you the way that I do most of this in my head. You're going to use the 10% and 1% to find percents. Alright, to do the 10% way, this is how I did the Bloomingdale's question in the beginning. You take 10% of a number. 10% of a number, this is like 1/10 of the number, which means you move the decimal place to the left once. Okay, it's like dividing the number by 10 because 1/10. And you multiply that answer times the percent. So write that down. I'm going to do a couple problems with you. If you're going to do it, if it's a small percent, it's less than 9%, 8%, 7%, and so on, or a fraction, you're going to use the 1% method. That's why I have 1% here. You take 1% of the number. 1% is like 1/100th of the number. Okay, 1% means 1 out of 100, which means you move it 2 decimal places to the left. Because it's 100, you're dividing by 100 means you move the decimal place over 2. Multiply the answer times the percent. So let's do some examples. of 42. 10% means 1/10. That means you're dividing by 10. I just move it over 1 place. I get 4.2. Okay, so your only work is kind of just showing that, or you could write 42 divided by 10 if you want, and that's your answer. I'm going to leave number 5 for you to do on your own. Number 6. This is a large number. I'm going to do it the 10% way, which means I move it over 1 place, or divide by 10. I get 8. Times the amount of 10s that I have. I have 3 10s. 30 means 3 groups of 10. 8 times 3 is 24. So 30% of 80 is 24. So I just moved it over 1. 8 times 3 is 24. You're going to try number 7. Now let's try some 1% method. 1% means to divide by 100. That means you're moving it over 2 places. So the answer here is 0.2. Okay, you try number 9. We will do a bunch of these in class. I'll probably do a relay race with you where we're going to have to be going really fast and speedy with the mental math problems here. Okay, last part is estimating percents. Now you're going to be rounding things so that it's easier to do when you have numbers that are kind of mixed up like this. 2 ways. Fraction method. This is the first way that we talked about using mental math. Estimate the percent to the nearest mental fraction or a mental percent, one that you can do easily, and you round the numbers accordingly. So what I'm going to do, looking at the first example, I'm going to make 22% 20. I didn't go up because it's not closer to 25, it's closer to 20, and 20% is 1/5. And I'm going to round 494 to 500. 1/5, which is 20% as the fraction, that's why this is the fraction method. 1/5 times 500 means 500 divided by 5 in my head. I get 100. Done. So my answer is about 100. Move this out of the way. The other way that we're going to be working on in class is the 1% way. Take 1% of the number, which I just talked about, means you're going to move the decimal place 2 to the left. And you multiply the answer times the percent. See how this is a really small percent, 1/4 of a percent. You don't even have 1%, you have less than that. What you do, move the decimal place over 2 places and multiply to the percent. So I moved this over, it becomes 12.19. I'm going to round that, I'm not going to work with 12.19. I make that 12. Multiply 12 times the 1/4, because you got rid of the percent by moving it over 2. 12 times 1/4, or 12 divided by 4, is 3, and that's your answer. Looking at another one, move it over 2 places. Okay, if you want to see if you could do this on your own, pause me and then see if you get the answer right. It becomes 4.89, which I round to 5. 5 times, and I have about 30% here, so I'm going to multiply it times 30. 5 times 30 is 150. And you can do that when you're estimating. That's it for tonight. We're going to do a bunch of these in class. Hope you have a good one.